Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. This is a flip-through video, not a process video, a flip-through video of part 3 of my Seattle album. So this is the last one, it's all done now. So this was where I left off before, this is where we're starting. I love this. It worked out really well because I wanted a multicolor card, and so this one worked out perfectly. And then this was a bit of a challenge. 2x2s are always a little tough, but I loved the pictures that I had picked out and cut to fit, so that really wasn't the problem. But I wanted to use this. And of course, this isn't the real issue, it's what comes on the back. So on this side, in order just to cover up as much of it as I could, I just did a bunch of hearts in matching colors here. And can you see still the background of the word? Yes, but it's not enough to bother me. So, and it's something interesting that lives outside the page protector, and that's always kind of fun. And then over here, I had picked this up in the gift shop, and I didn't really have anywhere else I could use it because it's quite large. So it fit in this empty space, and I didn't have to do any journaling then. Because I've been here 3 times, I don't need to journal about every single aspect. I did talk about that here, since I did need a card there. And then here we have a big flip out from the inside. That's one of my favorite photos that I took on the trip. So I'm glad I got to showcase that in a big 6x8. And then when we were done there, we had some time in between leaving Chihuly and then doing our night visit to the Space Needle, because we bought the ticket where you get 2 visits, day and night. So we just kind of went back to our apartment, hung out for a while. There's a rooftop deck up there, and so I chose to go up there and just have a look at the skyline as it was dusk and the sun was setting, and it was gorgeous up there. So that was a very good decision on my part. And then this one, I loved this so much, I just did this quickly in Canva. I had a template that had this on there already. It was perfect. And then all I did was add this puffy geotag, because there's actually a geotag underneath that's black that comes as part of the template. But I wanted something I just wanted a little more texture. So I decided to do that purple puffy sticker, and I think that worked out great. And then here we're at the Space Needle. And again, I didn't want to do 50 pictures of this. I've done it before. I just wanted a couple good ones. So I have one from the base when we got there, and then I just have 2 from up top. Kept it really simple. Just added, this phrase, the star, that's it. It really didn't need more than that. So the next morning we got up, and we had kind of like 3/4 of a day because our train left around 5 o'clock that evening. So we got up, we slept in actually, but when we got up, we went to the Seattle Public Library downtown as our first stop of the day. And I had heard it was beautiful inside, and it's true. It's gorgeous. It's a very architecturally interesting as well, as you can see. And so we actually spent, I'd say probably an hour, because they have their own gift shop in there too. And so we explored, and then we went to the gift shop and actually did buy several things. One of those is on the back side of this. So in order to fit this bookmark, I just cropped down 2 other photos I had that I really didn't know what else I was going to do with them. I didn't need full photos like this. I thought, oh, that's perfect. I can do that. And then on this side, you can actually see what it says. And then over here, these were just more views from inside. Look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? I love this carpet here that's made to look like it's actually, greenery. But then you could see some through the ceiling and the windows, like outside. So very visually interesting. You got to give it that. And then even though we had slept in a little bit, coffee never hurts. And we're coffee people. This was right up the street. So we went in there to grab some coffee to perk us up a little bit. And we loved this coffee place. And even though I knew it's not worth it for me to get a punch card from them, but I wanted it because it just looked cute, fit the vibe and everything. And so I thought, I'm going to use that in there. I happen to have this little die cut or piece of ephemera of this coffee cup. So I just slapped a yellow puffy heart on there and called it good. And then I decided to do something similar with the black and white dots on the back just to cover it up. And then I had this, I think this is actually from a 4x6 card. And then this was in the center, and so I chose to just cut that out and use it there. Or I punched it out. It's a 2-inch punch, and used it here. Once we were done resting for a little bit and having our coffee, we walked over to the Seattle Art Museum because it's very close to the library. So it's nice to combine those two if you can. I'd also been here before, but certainly I didn't see everything in the museum, so I was excited to go again. And I kept my ticket here and just put on this little phrase pennant here and called it good. Really didn't need anything other than that. And then I just took some photos from the exhibit that was specific to art from the Pacific Northwest, because a lot of the other things I have seen, and it's not specific to Seattle, but these are very regional. So I love that. This was actually a 4x6 card that I cut down to fit in there. And I think that came out very well because I like that it's got a little bit of this, mix of colors here that are also represented in this. So that worked out well. And then this was more from the exhibits. I didn't remember seeing this when I was there before. Maybe I did, but I just didn't remember it. So I thought I would include those as well. And I loved the contrast, excuse me, of the pieces with that green, very green background. You just don't see that a lot. Museums often paint their walls for different exhibits, but green just isn't a color that I see a lot. And I thought it just made a beautiful contrast of colors here. And the only thing I wanted to add was just this down here. I almost didn't add anything, but I felt like it needed something on one photo or the other, so I just went with this. And when we were done there, we wanted to have a late lunch because we knew we were getting meals on the train. We had a private room booked, and that's part of what you get, but you don't know what time you're going to eat. They have like a 3-hour window, and it really just depends on what people choose. We didn't know, like, are they going to get to our car first, or are we going to be the last car that they come to for reservations? So for all we knew, we could have ended up eating at like 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and we just weren't sure. So we're like, you know what, we'll have a quick lunch at this pub that was very close to the museum and the library, and just had kind of a light lunch. I mean, it wasn't like super huge or anything, but it certainly satisfied us until dinner came around. And this was the Blarney Stone Pub. If you're in Seattle and you're in that downtown area, I highly recommend it. It was a fun experience. So leaving there, we did have to take some public transportation to get down to the train station again, and we had left our bags there. We actually started there in the morning, dropped our bags off at Amtrak, because if you have a ticket that day, they'll allow you to store your bag there. So we did that, so we didn't have to drag our bags with us during the day, and then just picked them up when we showed back up at the station. And I think we got there, I think it was like 45 minutes maybe until boarding. Generally, I don't go that early, but I've never taken a train out of this station. I arrived into it from Portland once, but I've never left. So I didn't know, like, how busy is it going to be? How crowded is it going to be with people lined up getting ready to board? And honestly, we probably could have just shown up like 20 minutes before boarding and it would have been fine. But for these pictures, I just wanted to do one that kind of showcased the beautiful ceiling in the building, give some details of when we were leaving and all of that. And then we're walking to the train and we're on the train. And this was my daughter's first time doing an overnight train. So we've done things during the day, but this was 2 overnights on the train. So definitely a first for her. And so I just used a quick circle here that I had already punched out. And then I just got lucky that I had hearts that match the sweatshirt here. And so I used one there and one here. And then this was actually when we woke up in the morning, because it got dark pretty quickly. We really only had about an hour of daylight, and it was mostly along Puget Sound, and we saw a beautiful sunset. So we got that, then we went to bed, and when we woke up, we were running just a little bit late, and it was just enough to kind of get the edge of the park, the national park here, as we were coming over the mountains. And it was lovely, so I wanted to make sure we got that before we moved on to the other side of the mountains, where basically then it just becomes the plains. Not nearly as excited about that. So I wanted to include those, and since I had so much gray and white happening, I thought, well, silver will match. So I just did some little silver stars here on those layouts. And then on the back of that, I decided to just adhere my train ticket right to the back of this. You don't often get paper tickets, but what happened was I had booked us a roomette, which is the smallest private room, and then an offer came saying, hey, you can bid up to a bigger room, and that happens sometimes. And we had already made a deal like, hey, if I get that notice we can bid up, are we going to do it, and what's our limit? And so they offered, I bid our limit, and it was accepted. So we actually moved up to a bedroom, which is quite a bit bigger, far more comfortable for 2 people. So then they had to reissue us paper tickets when we got there. So that was kind of fun that I got to keep mine. All I did here was add this little piece of ephemera just to add a little bit of color, really, and then left that alone. And then here we get meals included on the train with a room, and everything we had was great. And my daughter really enjoyed it too, to finally be able to sample some of the meals in there. And then all I did was put this on there. And then this was our last fresh air break, where we got off for about 45 minutes and we walked around the platform and just got some fresh air. And then it was back inside to go to bed. And we woke up the next morning home at our home station in St. Paul. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing my Seattle album. It's been a big one. It's a chunky one, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks.